to the Sports Objective. Our NCD1 baseball preview rolls on. We appreciate everyone tuning in whenever and however you're watching or listening, whether it's Facebook, YouTube, or Twitter. And this can also be accessed on pretty much any podcast platform such as Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, TuneIn Radio, SoundCloud, and Spotify. It's hard to believe, but we're less than a month away from the start of the college baseball season. And with that being the case, we continue with our D1 baseball preview for the state of North Carolina. And right now I'm excited to be joined by the sixth-year head coach of the App State Mountaineers, Kermit Smith. Coach, we appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks for having me. I always look forward to this.
Absolutely. We appreciate you coming on as always. And right off the bat, going into your sixth year there on the mountain, just talk about your program. I know last season, although the win total overall was not where you would like, within the Sun Belt Conference, very competitive, and you had a winning record in the Sun Belt for the first time in program history.
Yeah. I think that it's kind of, there's a little glitch there in the COVID year, but the transition that we've had into the Sun Belt, and the trajectory that we've had in terms of wins and losses and where we're finishing, and postseason in the Sun Belt tournament. I feel like we've done a good job the last couple of years, just kind of starting to take small steps towards. Obviously, we want to be near the top of the conference. So, in the Sun Belt, I feel like we're very competitive. We have some work to do outside of that.
And really, you take a look at it, I talk about that competitiveness, and you had games. A lot of those games could have gone either way, and pitch here, pitch there, and you were really not very far from being in the running for competing for a championship a season ago.
Yeah, it's you never know how the ball's going to bounce, but I was proud of our guys. Thought we competed, and went into the tournament, and we're one swing away there in game 2 from playing on. Having a chance to play for a chance to go the championship game there late in the tournament. So I thought we were very competitive again all year long in the Sun Belt, even into conference play.
Taking a look at this year's team, let's first talk about what you have coming in. I know you're bringing in a lot of transfers, be it from the JUCO route or the transfer portal, Division I ranks, with guys coming from the likes of East Carolina and Virginia Tech. So just talk about some of those guys that you're bringing in this season, and I know you have 3 high school guys as well.
Yeah, we're excited about our recruiting class. The guys you mentioned and our freshmen. I think they all have an opportunity to impact our program in a positive way. The Virginia Tech transfer, Xander Hamilton, he's going to have a chance to compete for a weekend spot if he continues on with what he did this fall. The East Carolina transfer that you mentioned, Austin St. Laurent, he's going to have a chance to compete for a starting position coming into January and February. And the freshmen, we really like all 3 of those guys, whether it be this year or years in the future. I think that they're going to have a chance to really impact our program. A couple of junior college guys that I think are going to have a chance to impact our program. One that jumps off the page is Dylan Rogers, outfielder, first baseman, left-handed hitter, does a really good job for us. We got another 4-year grad transfer from Charlotte, Jacob Whitley, who's going to have a chance to do some catching for us and help our offense. Another grad transfer from UNC Asheville that's done a really good job for us to this point, Trey Jernigan. Both of those guys, this is my first time that I've ever gotten a grad transfer in my coaching career, which I think is going to probably become a little bit more common with some extra COVID years for some different guys. Both of those guys have just kind of brought a ton of maturity to what we've been doing. They've walked in and kind of made themselves at home, and both have very good work ethics, and have added a ton of experience and maturity to our program, which I think we've got a group of guys that have played together for a while, and kind of our core. So for those guys to come in and kind of fit themselves right into what we're doing has been a really exciting thing to watch.
Before we shift over and talk about some of the returning talent, guys like Luke Drumheller, just talk about the transfer portal in general terms. You made me think there just in in the in terms of guys that you want them to be a fit for your program. You don't want to bring in a guy who's going to disrupt the culture, obviously. So just talk about how that's a delicate balance, and trying to identify guys that are fit there at App State.
Yeah, I really don't think anything changes as far as what you're looking for and the type of person that you're looking to bring in. So it's whether you're talking about somebody from the transfer portal or you're talking about somebody from the junior college ranks or a high school kid, nothing changes in that. So you're still looking for somebody who's going to take care of their business in the classroom. You're looking for somebody who's going to fit the way that you do it. A good person that's going to be servant minded, and then you're obviously looking for a really good baseball player. So whether that comes from the high school ranks or the junior college ranks or the portal ranks, that's not going to change. So those standards will still remain the same.
Coach, I mentioned Luke Drumheller, so let's start there, and then just talk about Luke, and then take us around the infield and talk about who's going to be fitting in where.
Yeah, I think some of those things are still kind of being figured out, but it's nice to have a returning all conference player, coming in and going to have a chance to hit at the top of your lineup and kind of lock down second base, which he's done since he's been here. And Luke, he provides a lot of stability, a lot of comfort, does a good job turning double play, does a good job on the routine play, brings a good sense of energy to the defensive side of the baseball, which is really important to us. Got a new guy, Alex Aguirre, is kind of trying to fit in at shortstop, battling it out over there. And then we've got Andrew Terrell, who finished the year at third base for us last year, did a really good job over there. He's in between shortstop and third base, kind of competing at both of those positions. Andrew Greckel's back and healthy, so he'll be competing third base, outfield, in that arena there. A couple of guys over at first base we're still competing and trying to kind of figure that spot out. The guy we just got through talking about from ECU, Austin St. Laurent, he can really play anywhere on the field. So he's kind of mixing in at first, short, third base, even some second base. Alex Reed, junior college transfers, battling at first base. Vasily Kaludis is battling at first base. So it's really there's a lot of moving parts. So to start with Luke is good because I think there's some consistency there. But Luke could jump over to shortstop just as easy. So it's been kind of fun watching those guys get out there and compete every day. And January, specifically starting next weekend, is going to be a lot of fun to watch those guys get out and kind of solidify where each guy's going to be in terms of not only the position but the lineup as well.
Take us around the outfield. Who do you have out there, and who you expect key contributions from in the outfield?
Yeah, I just mentioned him, Andrew Greckel, who was a big miss for us last year. We kind of walked into January thinking that he was, if not our best offensive player, one of the top offensive players on our team. Had a really good shortened COVID year, and had a nagging hamstring early. Got hit with a pitch, broke his wrist, and was just not able to come back and solidify himself at all for really getting into any kind of rhythm last year, but finally got healthy over the summer. So he'll continue to work at third base like I talked about, but he can play any outfield spot, center, right, or left. But I would think that he would find his place into somewhere in one of those four positions. And then we've got a freshman who's done a really good job for us since he's been here, RJ Johnson, in center field. And he's gonna have a chance to play out there quite a bit for us. Does a good job athletically, does a good job defensively, does a good job offensively, and he's just had a really good. He had a really good fall, and it's just one of our hardest workers. Just kind of come in and just kind of fit into that Drumheller mold. Those guys that spend a lot of time in the batting cage, Andrew Terrell, Andrew Greckel, those guys, and it's just kind of cemented his spot in terms of how he's come in and worked and progressed since he's been here. So expect to see him in center field quite a bit this year. Mentioned Dylan Rogers. I think that he's going to have a chance to fit in somewhere. Hunter Bryson, who redshirted for us last year, big, strong right-handed hitter out of a really good high school program. And then Philip Cole, who's just kind of always factored in out there, and he'll do probably a little bit more pitching than he's done in the past, but he's going to be a name that's competing for a spot out there. Dalton Williams is a guy that's, year after year, always provided just a little bit of offense for us, and left-handed hitter, has always kind of factored in DH, outfield, pinch hitting role. So he'll continue to be competing for a spot out there as well.
Let's shift over and talk about your pitching staff. You're very blessed to have a couple of tremendous lefties in Tyler Tuthill and Eli Ellington. So if you would, start off with Tuthill. One of the numbers that really jumped out to me about Tyler is in 89 in the third inning pitched a season ago, he allowed just 52 hits.
Yeah, same thing I said about Drum. It's nice to have an all-conference guy returning kind of at the forefront of, your rotation. Number one, just an extremely hard worker, really obsessed with being great. That's one thing that just really pops off with Tyler. And it's funny that you kind of see all of these, All-American teams and players to watch and different things like this that kind of come off across the country. It's hard to think that a guy with 89 in the third, like you said, and the opponent's batting average of 174. It's pretty impressive. But to think that he's not getting a little bit more recognition for the season he had a year ago, pitching Friday nights every weekend in the Sun Belt, all conference, and just a tremendous competitor, tremendous player. Kind of sets the tone for our weekend. We know what we're going to get when we walk out there on Fridays. Eli Ellington, right behind him, he's a guy that came on the scene last year and just had a tremendous year. Just some of the innings that he pitched were just really, really big for our program last year. He's worked really hard over the summer, worked really hard over the fall, worked really hard coming out of Christmas break to, continue to be what he was last year and even improve on it a tick. He's really driven to be a great player. I mentioned, Xander Hamilton transfer from Virginia Tech. I think he's going to help factor into helping us be what we're going to be. And Jason Kornatzer is, he's worked so hard this fall and Christmas to be what he's capable of being. And you've seen that in the past. He'll have an outing here and he'll have an outing there where you're just like, wow, man, that kid's really talented, really good. And he's really worked hard over the last year to put himself in a position to, come back for his COVID year, come back for his fifth year, and make sure he cements his place as, one of the best pitchers that's ever pitched here. So really, really proud of how he's worked. And I think he's got a chance to, have a year that he's really, really proud of.
Who are some of the other guys who can factor in out of the bullpen and just talk about your staff as a whole in terms of depth?
Yeah. I think a lot of that stuff is, stuff that's going to take care of itself in January and February, to go into it, go top to bottom on our staff. I think, we kind of talked about the main ones. Cy Smith is another one of those guys that's pitched some big innings for us in his career. What comes out of his hand is really, really special. So we're excited to, watch his progression coming into it. You forget about, we mentioned it earlier, just kind of coming off of COVID 2 years ago. You forget about the time there that wasn't spent pitching for a lot of these guys. So you start to look at, developmental time and time that they have on the baseball field and competing against other hitters. Cy was one of those guys who basically missed, half of his freshman year, which he was really dominant that year. Missed half a year of development there that I think he's got a chance to be really, really as good as he wants to be. So, it's going to be fun to watch that progression. Trey Tuich was the guy last year that Pitched some really big innings for us. And you look cumulatively at his numbers, and you're not impressed. But when you look at some of the outings that he had, that he was able to eat up a lot of innings for us and improve. Again, another COVID guy whose freshman year at South Carolina was cut short, was having a good year, came into last year and kind of had to pick up some big relief roles early and then kind of settled into a starting role late as we went throughout our year. Had a really big outing for us at Little Rock last year that really solidified a big series win for us coming down the stretch of the year. But he's a guy that has worked extremely hard, committed himself in the weight room and put himself in a position to, continue to compete. But going to be a lot of new faces kind of coming out of the pen there that we're excited about seeing, kind of who solidifies himself as one of those guys for us.
Let's shift over and talk about the schedule. Start things off on the 18th of February against Campbell. Campbell was in a regional championship a season ago down at Mississippi State. And then you also have a quality program that's a perennial NCAA tournament team like UNC Wilmington coming to Boone for a 3-game set.
Yeah, I love our schedule. We've always been, as you know, very committed to playing a very competitive schedule in hopes that it prepares us to be the team that we want to be. And the reason that we work as hard as we do is we want to be one of those teams that you're talking about to another coach and saying, hey, I see you got Appalachian State on the schedule. They're, a regional finalist, or they're a perennial, NCAA tournament team. So that's the motivation behind what we do. We do what we do so that we can be playing in the postseason. So our schedule should reflect that same thing. So yeah, we're excited about going down to Campbell. Excited about UNC Wilmington, excited about UNCG, excited about Charlotte. I think Duke's our first midweek. Excited about our whole schedule. So I think our pre-conference scheduling will have us prepared to walk into the conference and be battle tested, and that's something that we always want to be as well. So just really excited about what the schedule lines up for us to be able to do. And we just got to go out and do what we're capable of.
Something else, I know a season ago I had the chance to watch your team play against Charlotte at the new ballpark, Atrium Health Ballpark here in Kannapolis, and taking a look at this year's schedule. And I know you'll have a chance to play in some minor league parks, which is a neat opportunity for your players as well.
Yeah, we'll actually be back down there. We're going to play Davidson there, and then we're playing down at Hickory, which the Crawdad Stadium, which will be a really, really great thing for our university and our program. And then we'll be in Charlotte. We're hosting South Carolina down there. So yeah, I have a chance to get out and see a couple of pro ballparks, and excited about that. So really excited.
Talk about the always challenging Sun Belt Conference, but talk about it in a couple of respects. One, on what you're currently facing this year, and then just take a look into the future and with a program like Southern Miss and other very talented and successful historically baseball programs.
Yeah, you got Marshall, you got Old Dominion, you got JMU, you got Southern Miss, and it's going to be a lot of fun. That's why you do this, is you want to be in the best league that you can possibly be, and I think that's going to put us in a position to be able to compete recruiting wise with the best players in the country, and bring them to not only a university and a facility that's top of the line, but also a conference that's going to rival any conference in the country. So extremely excited about that and the opportunities that those bring, and the national exposure that it'll continue to bring to the Sun Belt.
Final thing for you, Coach. In recent seasons, it seems as though your program's progressing to a point where those games that maybe you're expected to win, or games that are kind of, let's say, 50-50 games, you're definitely taking care of business. You've pulled some upsets, if you will. But those games against Quadrant 1 competition, you talk about the likes of Miami, East Carolina, South Carolina, and so on and so forth. Very competitive in many of those games, but talk about what needs to happen in order to get over that hump and win some of those games.
I think the consistent thing is we've got to score more runs. If you look back on, the trajectory of, if we wanted to talk about all 6 years or all 5 years that we've been here, I think the offensive side of the baseball, when we do a walkout, we've been very consistent defensively. I feel like over the years that we've been here, and that's why you're saying what you're saying is we are competitive in those games. So I think when we get out and we get that outing and we play the defense that we've been playing, we've got to be able to put a couple more runs on the board to give us a chance to do that. You look at the Wake Forest game in the COVID shortened year. We were able to put up some runs in that game, and we had a good stopper there, and Jack Hartman that was able to finish that off. But I think it comes from the offensive side, is we've got to be a little bit more offensive. We've got to be able to put up a few more runs when we're in position to win those baseball games.
Coach, we certainly appreciate your time this morning. Best of luck in 2022, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.